I started getting more involved with technology because I noticed that my students started getting better at that than I were. And I felt very uncomfortable with that because they would talk about things that I had no idea what they were talking about. And so I started learning more about creating websites and using the internet for teaching in spring 2008, so this year. And I came across a really simple to use program by Google, and I started playing with that. That's very simple to use, and it really helped my students a lot. And my students really appreciated it. But in your program, it talks about Google Pages, and when I submitted the proposal for Georgia TESOL, Google Pages was still being supported by Google. But they no longer support that because they started a new application called Google Sites. And Google Sites, at first I was a little annoyed by it because I just learned how to use this Google Pages, and then they switched it over, and I was like, I have to learn it again. But one thing I did find very useful about Google Sites is that there are more options, and you can do a lot more with it than Google Pages. And Google Pages was very simple in use, but it was limited in its functions. And so I started learning more about Google Sites and started playing with that, and I found a lot of useful things that you can do with it. And so I started using Google Pages, and now I've been using Google Sites for the classes I teach. And just to give you some context, I teach in the intensive English program at Georgia State, and so our students are international students who are preparing to go to university or graduate school in this country. And this is my colleague, and he used to be my roommate, but he left for Arkansas. And he works at the Spring Institute.
Spring International Language Center, University of Arkansas.
So he also teaches adult pre-university students. And he and I, when we were living together, I learned a lot of stuff about technology from him too. And so we decided to have a little presentation on it today. And once we get the computer working, and sometimes the computers are stupid. And so sometimes you have to kick it a little bit and scream at it and punch it, and sometimes it will start working. But one thing about technology, and I'm not really sure what your competence in using technology is, but I noticed that a lot of people are kind of afraid of using it, but there's nothing to fear because it's a computer, it's a machine. If anything goes bad, you just turn it off. And you can always start again or delete it. And so I know that sometimes it can get frustrating using it. But this application, Google Sites, is pretty easy to use. And we're going to show you setting up a website using Google Sites. Okay? And as you notice, one thing I really like about Google Sites is it's ad-free, except Google. But unlike some other free websites, you have to, deal with the advertisements that they put on there, and they're random stuff, and maybe you don't even approve of these advertisements, but they're there because it's free. Okay, so
all of the things that we're going to be talking about today are free. That's one of the things that I focus on as I'm sort of a gadget head. I love technology, anything that electronic, like the kid in the candy store. But I like to focus on this, especially when it comes to software and these kinds of things, I like to focus on the things that I don't have to pay for. So everything that we talk about today is free and not pirated, not any, free as in
they're legal.
Air.
You're not going to go to jail. FBI or CIA are not going to come after you. The Homeland Security, they're going to stay away. Yeah? Very important, right? So, before we get into all of this, I want to talk a little bit about what are some of the benefits of going online. As you guys probably all know, the amount of time we have with our students in our classes is very limited. And things happen, you make announcements, you do this and that, and suddenly time's gone. And so by going online, you can extend the learning beyond just the physical classroom. Okay? And also it makes the learning a little more interactive and allows the students to learn at their own pace and at their own time. And they can do this at home. Now, of course, the students need to have internet connection, but these days I think that is not such a big issue as it was like maybe 10 years ago. Okay? And like I said, you can save a lot of valuable class time. And one thing I really like about this, and my students appreciate, is that it keeps the students in the loop. For example, you might have students who are absent, and in order for them to know what happened in class, they would have to go and contact somebody, and they want to get a really good idea of what happened in the class. And in terms of giving out the homework assignments, I know teachers put the homework assignments on Blackboard, but with this, students just go there, and I don't have to tell them what the homework is. They know where to go for their homework. Okay. And then there are some simple principles for designing effective websites. And I'm sure you've been to some websites where you're just like, ugh. And there's so many words and things and buttons here, buttons there, and it just confuses you. And then you just give up and you decide, okay, I'm not going to use that website. So here are some basic principles. Okay, one is that you have to make it obvious. You have to know, okay, when I go to this website, what's the purpose of this website? Okay? And make it very self-explanatory. And this comes with more experience, grabbing the user's attention. Okay? Because sometimes in the beginning stages of learning how to do this, you're not going to be that proficient, and you're just going to make it very simple. But as time progresses and you learn more, then you can make it a little more wow and dazzle them with different things. And another one is this. Sometimes when you go to a website, you're not really sure how to navigate through a website. And Google Sites, it makes it really easy for this purposes. And we'll show you in just a moment. And keep things very short. And like I just said, sometimes things are very long.
Interrupt for a moment with the appropriate navigational aids. A basic rule of thumb is you should never be more than one click away from home. You should be able to go from your main page to another page, and then still be able to go back with one click.
And some other ones is have, some graphics. Graphics are always helpful. And then a lot of white space is good, because then it's easier to read and easier to navigate through. And you should test it often, because sometimes some links get broken, and so you probably want to make sure these links are up and running.
An example of a good website to sort of use as like a base to for you to base your website off of is Google's homepage. They've spent millions of dollars and done a ton of research to find out what users want. And as a result, they have a very nice, well-organized page. And you can use that to your advantage. Check it out, see why it might be such a nice page, and then apply that to your website when you create it.
And now to talk a little bit about what Google Sites is. It's free, always good, because we're kind of cheap and we like free stuff. It's user-friendly, which is very good. Unlike some of these other free websites like GeoCities. Have you ever heard of GeoCities? That thing is clunky, it's complicated, it's annoying, and you get pissed off, and I just stopped using it. Okay? And then you don't need to know any HTML language, okay? Which is good, because I don't really know HTML. I just know they use a lot of language I don't understand. And then this one, it gives you 10 gigabytes of storage space. So it, pictures, videos, whatever, it holds a lot of memory. And you could probably put like 1,000 pictures on here, or video. How many videos is that?
A couple hundred.
A couple hundred, and you won't overload it. And with this, you can create multiple websites with one account. So if you have several different classes, you can create different websites using just one account that you have.